What are you doing? Come on. The burden of fame, family, and that infamously troubled background are all prevalent on this sweltering Atlanta June evening. What occurs, though, when that strain eventually becomes too much? Here comes Mendeecees' kid, who is naively looking through his phone when the smallest disagreement suddenly turns into a fight. We're talking about man is trying to steal his son's phone, which quickly turns into a heated physical argument. You know what happens next. There is a lot of discussion on the internet, with some people calling Mendeecees a monster and others saying, "Hey, we get it. The pressure is real." So was this just a moment of weakness, or is there more to the story? You won't believe what's going to happen next, so get ready to immerse yourself in the drama. The drama that transpired behind Mendeecees Harris' closed doors was hotter than the sweltering June evening in Atlanta. However, let's be honest, Mendeecees Harris isn't exactly it. His life has been filled with highs and lows, from his tumultuous childhood to his celebrity on reality television. He is, if anything, a stranger to controversy. On the other hand, this might be the most startling thing he has ever done. It all started when a harmless father-son moment descended into an unanticipated public scandal. Consider the moment where Means is juggling his past, his emotional baggage, and pressure from his family. He is suffocating not just from the heat of the day, but also from the weight of his history and present, the very real pressures of being one of the most talked about men in the reality television industry, and his son Omar. In reality, Mendeecees attempted to take his son Omar's phone away in what seemed to be a frustrated moment, but in an instant, the situation took a much worse turn. What started off as a straightforward phone argument turned into a physical altercation. Like any other adolescent, Mendeecees was probably too preoccupied with his phone to see that his relationship with his father was becoming strained. Any family could experience this kind of situation, where the father tries to impose some discipline, but what transpires is more than simply a fatherly correction. The tale becomes difficult at this point. What you're about to witness, or have witnessed already, will cause you to reconsider all of your preconceived notions about dads and their relationship with their sons. Fans were split after the vicious altercation, and social media was ablaze with speculation about whether it was just a man losing control or if anything more serious was happening. Mendeecees can be seen grasping at his son's phone in a fit of wrath in the footage, which is as disturbing as you might think. Supporters wonder if it's a sign of weakness or a father's rage. You have to understand that the cameras did not film a haphazard altercation between a father and son. Rather, they documented an unvarnished, unadulterated, and all too genuine emotional breakdown. This was Mendeecees Harris at his best, and the physical push wasn't prearranged or rehearsed. It wasn't a phony reality TV ploy. Even though it was brief, the violence was enough to start a heated internet debate. It's no secret that Mendeecees has had a difficult past, but to what extent is his troubled past affecting his choices now, and how much of that emotional baggage is affecting his relationships with his family and kids? These are the important questions that we must start with. Controversy has surrounded Mendeecees' life from the beginning. However, why did this occur? Was this the final nail in a much bigger, ongoing emotional battle, or was it simply an error? When fans only see the television persona, it's for them to forget the person behind the fame due to numerous legal disputes, personal hardships, and intense public scrutiny. Behind the cameras, though, is a different story, that of somebody who was always caught between his desire to be a better father and his past transgressions. But is it too late, or would it be possible to repair the harm caused by his past actions? As you can anticipate, there was a mixed response from the public when the video leaked. Some supporters supported Mendeecees, claiming that he was only a parent attempting to punish his son. Others, including their teenagers, were quick to condemn Mendeecees' behavior as improper and harsh, though. Supporters defended him on social media, while detractors saw it as blatant abuse or, worse, parental overreach. The twist is this: what if this wasn't merely a family dispute? What if it was an indication of a much more serious problem that had been brewing for years? Mendeecees has previously battled his own mental difficulties, after all, and we must not overlook Yandy Mendeecees' wife, who was enmeshed in this upheaval. As this event ultimately represents more than simply a family dispute. It is a microcosm of all that Mendeecees has endured over the years, including emotional strain, fame pressure, and ongoing public scrutiny, all of which came tumbling down in a single instant. As the narrative goes on, it is still unclear if it was an isolated incident or if it is only the beginning. Yandy hurried to step in and try to defuse the situation when Mendeecees lost his rage. Although the video of Mendeecees' violent altercation with his kid went viral online, it served as a reminder of the profound impact that celebrity can have on people's personal lives. Will Mendeecees be able to bounce back from this controversy like he has so many times before, or will his reputation take a permanent hit? To be clear, this is about a man who was always living in the shadows of his past and attempting to escape his demons, but finding it practically impossible. It is not just about a family argument. The public didn't just watch it happen, they got involved, and the pressure on men in Washington, D.C. grew in the days following the disclosure. Was the result of years of stress, emotional baggage, and unsolved issues that had been seeping beneath the surface. It wasn't just a horrible parenting moment, though. They weren't subtle at all, I assure you. Fans were quick to come to his defense, saying that anyone would break under the burden of fame, while others couldn't wait to spread hate, saying that was an example of a father losing control. The details of what had been going on behind the scenes in Mendeecees' personal life were leaked by unknown people close to him, and there were rumors that nobody really wanted to hear as we dug into the scandal behind the cameras. It was the whole planet this time. Oh no. In addition to his actions at the time, his entire philosophy of parenthood, family, and celebrity was being questioned by the media, social media, and even law enforcement. What we heard was really wonderful, I must say. These sources claim that Mendeecees had been under months of intense emotional anguish. Yes, there are benefits to fame and fortune, but there are also drawbacks, such as living in a society where privacy is unheard of and millions of strangers are watching every moment of your life. Imagine constantly being in the spotlight, with every dispute, choice, and tear being caught on video and shared with the world. How much time would you last? According to reports, Mendeecees was battling his own inner demons behind the scenes, attempting to keep up his reputation while dealing with the consequences of his previous legal troubles. The public has been kept in the dark about the Harris family's financial troubles. Mendeecees' life isn't as ideal as it seems on air, despite being a reality TV star. Leaked sources claim that his lavish lifestyle wasn't really as sustainable as it first appeared. Rumor had it that financial difficulties were causing greater stress than fans had anticipated. Wait though, since additional reports also said that there were internal conflicts in the family, with Mendeecees reportedly feeling abandoned by those closest to him. About his long-standing emotional baggage, his previous behavior, his incarceration, and the unresolved feelings of guilt and shame. All of these things had been simmering for a while, and when the video surfaced, it was like a pressure cooker blowing up. Let's discuss the real reason behind this entire situation. Mendeecees and Omar's phone altercation may have been the catalyst, but what if it was just the start? What if a man who was just pushed too far was the root cause? The public's response grew increasingly polarized as the days passed. On the one hand, Mendeecees' supporters defended him. They went on to say that this was a one-time incident and a temporary error in judgment that didn't define Mendeecees as a father or a person, but some people were appalled by what they saw in the leaked video. They said that he was just a father trying to control his son because, after all, kids these days are always on their phones. So who hasn't had a moment of frustration with their kids? Seeing it as an instance of emotional abuse by a man who couldn't manage his anger, these critics weren't having any of it and started calling for justice right away, claiming that, instead of being a bully, he ought to be an example. The video immediately received a lot of attention on social media and in mainstream media, and the criticism was severe and swift. But the law and public opinion are not the same thing. The legal profession was silently watching as fans and critics examined the film frame by frame, and the more comments made, the more this incident seemed like a real legal issue. The real question now is, What consequences will all of this have? Is Mendeecees in danger of legal issues? Isn't that the most important question? A few legal professionals began to comment, saying that if Omar so desired, this is a complicated case though, so maybe this scandal will go away if Omar decides not to file charges, and if Mendeecees and his family can work out a reconciliation. Nevertheless, the situation can worsen into something much more serious than a popular video if the fallout and public response keep increasing. Furthermore, Mendeecees would encounter a whole new set of issues that go beyond public scrutiny if Omar's emotional toll was as some had suggested. The issue has caused a deal of tension in Mendeecees' marriage to Yandy. Just consider the consequences between a husband and wife if the tension between a father and son was that great. Is Mendeecees' outburst something Yandy could forgive? Could their marriage withstand the fallout from this aggressive public outburst? Let's just say that the Harris family's future doesn't appear to be as promising as it previously was. Only time will tell. Everyone was wondering whether Mendeecees could preserve his family and reputation as the media storm reached its zenith and public indignation increased. Although it was clear that the harm had already been done and the situation was spiraling out of control, the true drama, the unpredictable one, was just getting started. And although fans had conflicting opinions about Mendeecees' social media posts, the real discussions were happening behind closed doors. His wife was attempting to preserve her family's reputation and protect them, but her husband's behavior was also seriously casting doubt on their relationship. Would this scandal be the final straw for their marriage, or could she support him in the wake of this catastrophic event? Every day that passed merely added gasoline to the fire, and the tension was palpable. Mendeecees was accustomed to controversy. His prior court troubles and public conflicts were widely known. This incident, however, struck in a different way. It was an emotional collapse that was broadcast in front of millions of spectators, and the consequences were enormous. It wasn't just a disagreement with another celebrity or a court case. Everything was made worse by the fact that the footage was leaked. Most people can't even begin to comprehend the strain that comes with becoming a reality TV star. Every second is watched closely, and even the smallest mistake might turn into a major problem. In an effort to limit the harm, Mendeecees' legal team released statements asserting that the footage was incomplete and that the incident had been misrepresented. They argued that the fight between the father and son was an isolated episode and did not represent Mendeecees' personality. Have released that video, and the consequences were severe. There were now concerns about who would profit from the leak. Was it an attempt to further harm his reputation, or was it an attempt to expose the real nature of what was going on behind the scenes? Everyone had a different take on Mendeecees' behavior. Some people were favorable, while others were against him. Family therapists and child advocacy organizations were among those who denounced him, claiming that this incident wasn't isolated and that Mendeecees' actions were an example of emotional abuse and toxic masculinity. Despite their attempts to minimize the incident, Mendeecees' reputation had already suffered. They even went so far as to imply that the video was altered to make the situation appear worse than it actually was. Mendeecees had a bad day because it was a component of a wider pattern of conduct that required attention. As additional hypotheses and accusations emerged, several fans speculated that Mendeecees had been dealing with more than simply family troubles. Were there other darker forces at work? The public's response to the video was quick. There started to be rumors regarding his mental health, with some people guessing that he had been dealing with anxiety or despair. His enigmatic social media posts and the obvious shift in his demeanor over the last few months served as fuel for these speculations. Would his previous deeds, such as his incarceration, have come back to haunt him? Growing up in a renowned family can be challenging, as is well known, but Omar found it even more challenging to be thrown into the spotlight following such a sad and intimate event. After becoming an unwelcome public personality in his own right due to the viral video, Mendeecees' son, Omar, was left to pick up the pieces. People were curious about his emotional state and how he was handling the fallout from this highly visible altercation. Was he all right? Was he a victim of trauma? He was under unimaginable pressure. Even though the chances were against him, Anything can happen in the realm of social media and reality TV. The division this experience caused among fans, some of whom were unwavering in their support of Mendeecees, was one thing that emerged throughout the whole event. Citing the demands of being in the spotlight, as well as the fact that he was allegedly dealing with remorse and regret behind the scenes, they urged empathy and understanding. According to reports, he struggled to balance his fear of losing everything he had fought so hard to achieve with his need to protect his family. They asserted that this was only one incident in a positive connection between father and son, and that everyone has bad days. Some fans, on the other hand, were horrified by what they witnessed and thought it was a warning sign that Mendeecees was dealing with some major issues rather than only a terrible incident or miscommunication. The effects of the video were still being felt, and the media circus didn't appear to be winding down. In fact, it looked like new information, rumors, and comments were being made every day. One thing was clear as the public kept dissecting every facet of the drama. This scandal had become uncontrollable, and nobody, not Mendeecees nor Omar. The question that persisted was whether Mendeecees could move past this disgrace and restore his life. Could he redeem himself, or would that one moment of wrath define him forever? Mendeecees was going to escape untouched from all of this upheaval. There was no doubt that the drama was far from ended, but only time would tell. Fans were left wondering as the story progressed whether the Harris family's day in the spotlight was coming to an end or if a new chapter was about to begin. All eyes were on Mendeecees for the time being, but only time would tell. And his family as they tried to cope with the consequences of one of the most startling episodes in the history of reality TV. All right, folks, how do you feel about this unexpected development? Did Mendeecees cross a line that cannot be uncrossed? Or was his action justified? Will he end up like this? Or will he be able to rise from the ashes like a real phoenix? How about Omar? How will he respond to the public scrutiny and emotional impact from this family drama? Is this the final nail in Mendeecees' coffin? Or do you think he can turn his life around? Please click like if you're as surprised as we are. Thanks, and remember to tell your friends about this video. You can be sure they'll want to watch it as well. To ensure you don't miss any of the biggest and most recent celebrity scandals, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Stay tuned, keep watching, and let's continue this discourse until the next time. We'll keep you updated on this topic as it progresses, along with a ton of other incredible, mind-blowing stories. Very haphazard.